What's new, everyone? Today I'm going to go ahead and bring you a review of the Hiya Godzilla 91 action figure. Yes, I'm a little late doing this review. I actually got this figure about a few weeks ago. Haven't had any time to go ahead and review until now. But this action figure, I'm going to go ahead and add my 2 cents to the pool, basically what I think about it. And this is the one that kind of stirred up a little bit of, I don't want to say controversy. That's not really the word I want to look for. But I do remember when it was unveiled, there were the issues with the face of the action figure. And this has kind of been a prominent thing that we've kind of seen with some of the Hiya action figures, specifically the Godzilla Toho figures. And we're kind of seeing it drum up again with the Godzilla against Mecha-Godzilla figure that will be coming out as well, because that was recently unveiled with the new variant of the Heat Ray variant. And we've kind of determined anytime we see a new mold or suit for Godzilla action figures when it comes to Hiya, we will see the Heat Ray version. Of course, this one right here has a Heat Ray version that is yet to release. It's supposed to come out in May. And I've had a chance to go ahead and kind of sink my teeth into this action figure, and we're going to go ahead and talk about it and the aspects of it. This is actually Hiya Toys, their first Toho classic Godzilla. They did King Ghidorah also, which is out there, one of my favorites, honestly. That was a home run from the start. But let's go ahead and talk about this action figure and get into the box. Now, the box art admittedly isn't one of my favorite box arts for Hiya Toys. This is pretty standard in my opinion, just a simple black, browns, golds, and then we do have this menacing shot of Godzilla, which looks fantastic, I want to say. But other than that, we do have a claw mark, and of course the Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah text up in the corner, exquisite basics, and all the other information that you would expect on this action figure. I mean, it's a decent box, it shows you what you're going to get. It's nothing I'm going to go ahead and write home about that's anything amazing. On one side, we have a profile shot of Godzilla looking fantastic, and then randomly we have a picture of Godzilla's foot. The back packaging features the production information, one shot of Godzilla. I'm going to be honest with you guys, even though this is pretty bland, it's pretty classy the way it's laid out. And then for that, on the very top, we have the Godzilla 1991 Hokkaido Battle version. That's what this figure is billed as. And if you are curious about the other side, it's the exact same on the bottom. With that said, there is one thing I'd like to go ahead and point out about this Godzilla. Now, the head that I have on right now is the resculpted head. The original one, I didn't hate it. Personally, I thought it was adorable with those enlarged pupils, but it was one of those things, if I'm honest, I can see the flaws within it, and I was not going to overlook the issues that it had. And to me, it's one of those things that I feel like it's worth the people kind of like giving the constructive criticism. I don't want to say this is people giving hate towards Hiya, towards a bad set of eyes for this Godzilla action figures. We saw this figure and definitely everybody was excited about it, and we have been waiting to see how Hiya Toys would do when it came to the Toho Classics. And then after that we saw the official final product, and it was concerning. And it was one of those things that I'm hoping this does not become a regular thing. But this action figure though, I do feel like that the essence was kind of captured. To me, the side profile looks better when I look at it, but definitely when I look at it head on. This reminds me of the Godzilla 94 and 93 just a bit more. But they do their best to capture that menacing look, because if you've seen the movies, the first 2 Godzilla films in the Heisei era, or I guess the first 3 technically I should say, Godzilla had a more menacing look. Once we got to about Godzilla versus Mothra, they kind of switched up the design. It became more of a frontally heroic face for the Godzilla. And that's something that that's something that Hiya needs to go ahead and distinctively separate, because the menacing look was something that was extremely key about this Godzilla and made it iconic in its own right. The mold of the spines capture all the necessary vital colors for the Godzilla 91. So we start with this darker color, which is more on the top of the head, fade to some grays, and then after that we get into our whites, blacks, and grays, and then after that it just continues. And I don't think they look terrible, honestly, going to the tail. I will go ahead and say, though, at the very tip, it does get a little lazy, but nothing I'm going to scream about and complain about. The white looks fantastic, nice and marshmallows looking. That's what I think of when I see it. Go over to the hands, the claws of it just look fantastic. Just a simple color, but it is a clean color for the claws. Then move down to the toes, and the claws there have a lot of distinctive different colors and detail, which is something I'm a big fan of, because usually a lot of these Godzilla action figures, the route they go with is just simply painting them something like maybe like a white or maybe like a yellow and calling it a day. That was not done here. The legs are nice and beefy, and then after that the chest has a lot going on. That's one thing about this Godzilla suit. It was really bulky. All the 90s Godzillas were extremely bulky, and to me, they cannot pull any punches on exactly. So I do feel like that is captured, but there's something still off about the face though. And it does have that menacing look. Like I said, it does have it. And I think they're in the right direction. I'm just hoping that they can go ahead and step up with every release. Now, one area this action figure does win in, and this is one thing I'm really proud about when it comes to Hiya Toys, is the articulation. Because there have been some major step-ups in the evolution of Hiya Toys and their Godzilla action figures. We'll start with the head and go ahead and talk about the jaw, which opens up. We do not have any tongue articulation, which this is actually a first for this one. I tried to move the tongue around, however, nothing. It doesn't seem to want to move up and down. I played around with it enough. We have 1, 2, 3 joints for the neck, so there's quite a bit of range. You can get him kind of looking down in that position as we saw in the front of the box, and then you can kind of get it up quite a bit, pretty close. I mean, I feel like it'd be nice to get a little bit more range, but it's enough if you want to get him in that like swimming position and do some toy photography with him. So that is honestly one thing that I want to go ahead and sing some praise and give it its flowers. The arms move all the way up, great range right there. Down, move them around. They don't have any restrictions. There's obviously nothing that would there. And then after that, we move over to the elbows, and we got some double jointed elbows. And then after that, we have 2 different cuts around the wrist of the action figure. No finger articulation at all. Of course, we do have 2 different hands for this action figure. You can rock the body all around, no restrictions really. You don't have to have any of that dorsal fin articulation that we saw in the Evolved Godzilla. Doesn't require it whatsoever. Move to the legs. Let's see if we can go ahead and get this to spin all the way around. And it seems to be pretty close, and not quite. Wants to fight me just a bit. Don't worry about that. This is going to happen. I've already had that leg pop off a few times. So if there is anybody fretting about that and getting concerned, hey, you're in the luck. Ball joints on ball joints, and this figure is fantastic when it comes to articulation. Knees kick in and out, double jointed by the way. And then our feet just seamlessly just spin around and rock. And we move to the tail. We have 24 different cuts on the tail. This might be a record for Hiya Toys and their Godzilla action figures, but they are definitely killing it in terms of this. And this is one thing that I'm really proud of, honestly, to see how far it's come. I still favor this over the bendy wire any day. The restrictions are just less and less, and you can go ahead and get a lot more movement out of it. And I'm just proud to say these figures are so smooth when it comes to the articulation. Just a far cry from where we started. And overall, it's just looking fantastic. It's all looking great for Hiya Toys. They found new ways to innovate, and they've got the ball joints down perfectly. Now, the accessories that we have for this action figure outside the alternate head, we do have another pair of hands. So let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. And first off, we have Godzilla 2019, SH Monster Arts Godzilla Evolved, GVK Skullcrawler, SH Monster Arts Gigan, SH Monster Arts GVK Mecha-Godzilla, SH Monster Arts Godzilla 95 Rebirth, NECA Godzilla 1989, SH Monster Arts Mecha-King Ghidorah, and finally the Hiya 91 King Ghidorah. So in summary, if you would like this action figure, I do have a link down below in the info section for this Godzilla action figure. You can go ahead and order from Calcus.com. They are one of the top sites that I do recommend. There's nothing that I'm really complaining about. I don't consider this to be the worst figure of the year. Probably, as I've said in the past, the one that was more disappointing for me was Godzilla 2014. I'm not feeling any of that towards this action figure. This action figure, there are angles and certain point of views that does look fantastic. It was great that Hiya Toys did listen to the consumers about fixing the eyes for it, and we're just hoping that they kind of could go ahead and look at things and think, yeah, we don't need to be releasing action figures and then hearing all this criticism about the final product. I've talked about the Godzilla against Mecha-Godzilla design, and I'm hoping that the Godzilla Millennium design can also avoid any of that. But that one, I will go ahead and say that the prototype did look fantastic. I've had issues with the Against Mecha-Godzilla prototype design for some time, but this right here was a great start for Toho Godzillas. We have Godzilla 95, and then after that, we do have, I want to say, yeah, we have GMK, which should be one of them that we were supposed to have out earlier this year. No news on that. Hopefully it comes out by the end of the year, and we have several different Heat Ray variants, along with the mini action figures that Hiya Toys has announced. But the future looks bright. I think that this figure was well worth the price that I paid. I understand that it's not going to be completely accurate. As I've said in the past, I do believe SH Monster Arts kind of excels more so when they do the Toho Godzillas. And for Hiya Toys, this isn't a disappointing action figure. It's a solid start, and where I'm just hoping we can keep going the right direction from here on out. Articulation looks fantastic. You guys let me know what you think of this action figure. Are you going to buy it, or are you guys going to pass on it and wait till that Heat Ray variant comes out? We're still waiting on information on that one. Like, subscribe. You guys have a great day.